Let me tell you about Isaac Jones, a guy whose life could have been a textbook example of when shit keeps hitting the fan. Isaac was 27, lived in the chaotic city of Chicago, and worked in a rundown auto repair shop that smelled like motor oil, coffee that's been sitting too long, and bad decisions. He wasn't just good with cars, he was great. If your car wheezed, rattled, or outright died, Isaac was the guy who'd bring it back to life. But let's be real, being a black mechanic in a predominantly white neighborhood wasn't exactly a ticket to paradise. Isaac's backstory wasn't glamorous either. His parents died in a car accident when he was just 16. He and his little brother, Tyler, were left to fend for themselves. Imagine being a kid and suddenly having to play the role of dad, mom, and older brother, all while figuring out how to pay the electric bill. Fun, right? Not really. Isaac dropped out of school, picked up odd jobs, and eventually landed at this shop where the pay was shit. But at least it was steady. Tyler, now 18, was a freshman in college, something Isaac was fiercely proud of. That kid had brains for days and a heart to match. But college isn't cheap, and Isaac was carrying the financial burden like a soldier lugging a broken backpack. The rent, tuition, books, it all added up. Every night, Isaac stared at his beat-up wallet, muttering, "What the hell, money? You allergic to staying put or something?" The neighborhood wasn't helping either. The repair shop, owned by a grumpy old guy named Clarence, was a magnet for trouble. Every week, some Karen or Chad from the suburbs would complain about the noise or property values. Yeah, because fixing cars at minimum wage is totally a threat to the neighborhood. The cops? Don't even start. They'd stop by regularly, asking useless questions and acting like the shop was a front for smuggling diamonds or something. But hey, at least Isaac had Maria. She was a nurse with a sharp tongue and a softer side she rarely showed to anyone but him. Maria would stay up with him on his worst nights, rubbing his shoulders and saying things like, "Isaac, you can't carry the world on your back. You'll break." And boy, did he feel like he was breaking some days. But what choice did he have? One morning, Isaac was getting ready for another grueling day at the shop. He pulled on his grease-stained coveralls and grabbed his coffee, a bitter brew that could probably dissolve rust. Just as he stepped outside, a police cruiser rolled up. You know that sinking feeling when you see flashing lights and think, "What now?" That was Isaac's gut screaming at him. Two cops stepped out. One was lanky with a permanent smirk plastered across his face. The other built like a linebacker who'd retired too late. The lanky one spoke first. "Morning, buddy. You Isaac Jones?" Isaac stared at him, coffee cup halfway to his mouth. "Depends. Who's asking?" The smirk grew wider. "Relax, dude. We're here to offer you a job. Got some work that needs doing, and we heard you're the guy for it." Isaac's eyebrows shot up. "A job? From the cops? That didn't sound right." Sure, but you know I already have a job, right?" The linebacker stepped forward, his voice like gravel. "Yeah, but this one's special, pays better, and it's for the good of the community." Now, Isaac wasn't born yesterday. Something about their tone set off alarm bells in his head. But then he thought about Tyler, about tuition, about how he couldn't afford to say no to extra cash. "All right," he said, shrugging. "Let's hear it. What's the gig?" The lanky cop grinned, opening the cruiser's back door like a valet inviting someone into a limo. "Hop in. We'll explain on the way." Isaac hesitated. Every instinct screamed, "Don't do it." But the thought of Tyler sitting in a dorm room, flipping through overpriced textbooks, pushed him forward. He climbed into the back seat, coffee in hand, and the door slammed shut behind him. As the car pulled away, Isaac stared out the window, watching his neighborhood fade into the distance. He had no idea that this job would flip his life upside down in ways he couldn't begin to imagine. Isaac sat in the back seat, clutching his coffee and trying to ignore the knot tightening in his gut. The cops weren't saying much, just exchanging those weird, loaded glances. The car zipped through unfamiliar streets far from his neighborhood, making Isaac more uneasy with every turn. "So, where are we going? And what's this job about?" he finally asked. The lanky cop smirked, not even glancing back. "Relax, dude. Almost there." The linebacker turned, his grin unsettling. "Don't worry. Quick. Easy. You'll be fine." The cruiser pulled up in front of the courthouse. Isaac blinked. "Wait, what the fuck? Why are we here?" No answer. Instead, they yanked him out of the car, ignoring his protests, and marched him through a back entrance. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed ominously, and the air reeked of disinfectant. They shoved him into a small, depressing room with a table, 2 chairs, and a guy in a cheap suit who looked as trustworthy as a used car salesman. "Mr. Jones," the suit began without looking up, "you've been identified as the suspect in an armed robbery." Isaac froze. His mind reeled. "What the hell are you talking about? I didn't rob anyone. I was at work." The suit slid over some papers, including a grainy photo of someone who kind of looked like him holding a gun. Looks like you to me, the linebacker sneered. Isaac slammed his fist on the table. This is bullshit. Ask anyone at the shop. They'll tell you I was there. Sure they will, the lanky cop said, smirking. But who's going to believe a bunch of grease monkeys over this evidence? Then came the kicker. The suit slid a confession form across the table. Sign this, and you'll get 10 years instead of 20. Isaac's blood boiled. I'm not signing shit. This is a setup, and you know it. The lanky cop leaned in close, his smirk gone. Nobody cares, buddy. Play along or you'll regret it. Dragged back out into the hallway, Isaac's mind raced. They were railroading him, turning him into another statistic. His fists clenched as rage and fear twisted inside him. They thought they'd won. They had no idea who they were messing with. Isaac sat in his cell, replaying every moment in his head, trying to make sense of how he'd ended up here. The place reeked of piss and despair, and his cellmates weren't exactly chatty. One of them, though, a wiry guy named Jerome, watched Isaac like a hawk. What's your story, man? Jerome finally asked, his voice casual but his eyes sharp. Isaac sighed. Cops framed me. Said I robbed some liquor store. I was at work the whole time, but they don't give a damn. Jerome smirked. Typical. Let me guess. They got evidence. Grainy-ass photo? Witness who swears it's you? Isaac blinked. How the hell did this guy know? Turns out Jerome used to be a journalist before his life went sideways. He leaned in, whispering, You want out of this mess? Let me make some calls. Isaac hesitated. What choice did he have? Do whatever you can. A few days later, Jerome's contact came through. A local reporter picked up the story, and it spread like wildfire. Headlines screamed about a black man falsely accused to cover police incompetence. Social media erupted, digging up security footage from Isaac's shop proving he was there during the robbery. Even worse for the cops, the real robber had struck again while Isaac was locked up. The pressure hit hard. Protesters gathered outside the courthouse, chanting Isaac's name. The media grilled the police chief, demanding answers. Isaac's brother Tyler gave a tearful interview saying, My brother is innocent and they know it. The noise got too loud to ignore. One morning, a guard came to Isaac's cell, smirking. Looks like you got fans, Jones. Time to pack up. Isaac stared. Wait, what? The guard just shrugged. You're out. Don't ask me how or why. As Isaac stepped into the sunlight, the crowd outside roared. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted his name, and Tyler ran to hug him. Isaac wasn't free just yet. Now it was his turn to flip the script. Isaac stood in front of the cameras, his fists clenched, jaw tight. The reporters shouted over each other, hungry for a soundbite. He didn't give them one, yet. First, he scanned the crowd. Protesters, reporters, and at the edge, those two cops who had dragged him into this nightmare. Their smug grins were gone now, replaced by something he hadn't seen before. Fear. Ladies and gentlemen, Isaac began, his voice steady but sharp, let me tell you a story about justice. Or the lack of it. The crowd hushed. Isaac laid it all out. The setup, the lies, the fabricated evidence. He didn't hold back. His words hit like punches, each one aimed straight at the system that tried to bury him. You think I'm just another black man you can throw under the bus for your stats? Nah, you messed with the wrong guy, and now the world knows it. The reporters ate it up, scribbling furiously, cameras zooming in on Isaac's intense glare. But the best part? His mic drop moment. To the officers who framed me, hope you enjoyed the spotlight. Because now, it's your turn to take the fall. Isaac wasn't bluffing. With help from activists and lawyers, he filed lawsuits against the department. The media frenzy didn't just end careers, it exposed a whole web of corruption. Those cops? Suspended, investigated, and soon to be jobless. But for Isaac, it wasn't just about revenge. He became a voice for the voiceless, using his story to push for justice reform. The man they tried to erase was now unstoppable. And as he walked off that stage, shoulders squared and head high, one thing was crystal clear. Isaac Jones wasn't just free. He was finally heard. Thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to this story. We truly hope you enjoyed it and that it left you thinking. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel, Life Mosaic, where we bring you the most captivating and thought-provoking stories every day. We're here for you, and your support means the world to us. Take care, and we'll see you tomorrow with another incredible story.